Hey everybody, I cannot believe we are here at the last couple days of November and it's t-shirt weather. That's Nebraska. It may be like this and a few days from now there may be a blizzard, but that's the way it goes. All right, how we doing over here, girls? Boys, everybody taking it easy there? Today we're going to talk about registrations, pedigrees and stuff. How we doing here, everybody? Everybody doing good? Little heart, how you doing? Are you bred? I haven't seen you get bred. I hope you are. I've got two. I got the 2021 here, I got a 2021 over there, and I got an older one. Those are the only three I have not seen. The older one I'm going to presume she's bred. The 2021s, there's 4 of them. 2 are bred for sure. The other 2 I have not seen. The key is, in about 2 more days, everybody has gone past 17 days. Hershey right here, I think today is day 17 for her, and I haven't seen the ram bothering her at all. Every once in a while the rams go around and check them out. So far they haven't found anything that's interested. So we may be done. We may be all finished up. Initially, I was keeping rams with ewes till February 1st. Now I've been talking, well, maybe we'll move it to January 15th. If I don't see any activity for the next few weeks, then on January 1, I'm pulling them. That'll be November, December. They'll have 60 days they've been with. Even at that, if I leave them and pull them on January 1st, I could still be having lambs after Memorial Day. And I really don't want anything after that. So if one of these 2021s doesn't get bred, it's not going to be a big loss. I mean, yeah, you'd like to see them get bred. That way, you know, you're feeding them, you'd like to get the use out. But if they don't, they don't. I'm not going to get too concerned with that. So we will probably pull the 1st of January. And at that point in time, these 3 rams are going to come back. Yeah, the big boys are going to come back and see you guys. I don't think you guys are going to be happy with that. They've been doing a little, there's been a little fighting going on in this pen the last few days, I've noticed. And everybody's starting to get a little testosterone in them too as they're getting a little older. So there's a couple in here that are thinking they're pretty tough. They are pretty tough stuff. And I'm afraid they're going to find out when the big boys come back, they're not nearly as tough as they think they are. We'll talk about that later. There is a way to reintroduce the rams back together to hopefully minimize anybody getting hurt or any damage. We'll get into that another time. Hey, there's one thing we're going to talk about real quick as we start into something here on the genetics before we get really started. Take a look at those 2 rams right there. The little black one laid down. Those 2 right there together. If you notice, the brown and white considerably bigger, a lot longer horns than the black one. Totally different. And they're twins. Those 2 are twins, started out looking exactly the same. There's a good situation. We've discussed genetics, all the great genetics. You can have all the great genetics in the world. Those 2 have some really great genetics. But the way it looks to me, that one over there, he got the good stuff. And that one over there, well, let's just say I've named him Lamb Chop because that's where he's probably going to end up. I'm not bothering to register him. Clearly, he's just not going to be what the other one is. The other one, I really like the other one. I thought one time of selling, I'm not too sure I want to sell him. The older they get, the better they look. You don't know if you want to sell or not. In his case, I'd never sell him to anybody. I wouldn't want to. You didn't know that early on. I mean, let's face it. At 12 weeks old, at weaning time, they look the same. They pretty much look the same at 12 weeks. At 12 weeks, you said, yeah, boy, he's going to be just like that and he's going to be real good. Didn't turn out that way. They don't always work out that way. So we want to start with the best genetics we can in the world, but sometimes it just doesn't always work out the way you want it to. All right, now let's get into that registration stuff. All right. As I said earlier, I've seen some people talk at various forums. They got their papers and they said, gee, there's not hardly any names on the papers. So I want to take a minute to explain that and explain why that's not really a bad thing or why you do see some of that. the Painted Desert Sheep Society closed the stud book, or their registration book, in 2020. They did that last year. Starting now, 2021 of this year, if you wish to register a lamb, a ram lamb, it has to be by a registered sire. The sire is the one that's going to make up the majority of your flock. The genetics from the sire is really important. I said the ewes and the sire both, but the sire's genetics are going to go to every ewe you got in the flock. So his genetics are going to make up the biggest basis of your flock, and that's why they closed the book that sires now have to be registered. If you have a ewe that is a painted desert ewe, but she's not registered, you can still register her. You'll send in multiple pictures. You got to show that she does meet the standards, and then you can apply to get papers yet. But if you have a ram lamb, he has to be by a registered sire. That's the only way that works nowadays. So what you saw is quite a few people registering rams in 2020. All right. And so there was a big influx of that to get in before it's over. And some of these rams don't have a lot of history behind them. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing. It depends, again, where does it come from? Such as, I'm going to take Stu and I'm going to take Skeeter. They don't have a lot. There is not much on their side. They got some on the top, there is nothing on the bottom. Now, admittedly on the top, their sire measured out at 106, so he has the size of a Gold Star ram. His sire is a Gold Star ram. His sire is a Gold Star ram. He's got 3 potential Gold Star rams on his papers. So that's got really good genetics. But these guys came from somebody who raises sheep for horns. He's not necessarily raising registered sheep. He's raising for horns because they're being sold to high fence hunting operations. And if you're selling to high fence hunting operations, they don't care. Has any hunter ever gone in and shot a sheep and wanted to see the registration papers? No, doesn't happen. So you have to understand there are a lot of breeders with some really great genetics, but they really didn't care if they were registered or not, because where they were selling, it didn't make any difference. All right? So that's why, gee, I only see 4 or 5 names on the papers. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because if it came from somebody that's raising just for horns, just for hunting operations, they've never cared about papers in the past. They probably started caring about them in 2020 when they found out, I got to do this now or I'm never going to be able to do this. Now the next thing you're going to see, because they closed this, what they really want to look for in the Painted Desert Sheep Society now is what percentage of pureness do you have? So when you look at a set of registration papers and you only see 3 names on it, or maybe here it's almost completely full, one has a lot more pure blood or painted desert blood in it, and the other one doesn't. So they've started doing a percentage, and they're doing it basis on 31 out of 32, or 32 parts. What that means is, and I'll show you, here's an image here. This would be a 5 generation on my ram long shot. You need 5 generations, him and the 4 generations behind him. All right, so now when I look at this, I have a total of 32 total sheep make up a 5 generation on him. And in some cases, it's filled up with names, and in other cases, it's blank. So what we care about are the names. Now, each sheep out of 32 of them get 3.125%. If I take 3.125% times 32 sheep, I get 100%. So every sheep is worth a little over 3%. Now in Longshot's case, as you look at this diagram, 24 of the 32 sheep are registered. So with 24 out of 32 sheep registered, Longshot is 75% pure, or foundation, or registered sheep. So is that real important? I don't know if it is, but for me, I think it is. I think it's going to be, it may not be important today as it may be next year, the year after that, the year after that, as people start getting more used to that. I have 2 ewes that are being bred by Long Shot today. Both really nice ewes, they throw nice lambs, they both look really good. One is 35, 36%. The other one's 90%. I have another ewe in that pen that's 87.5%. Those are very high percentages. Now, in my case, when I'm going to be selling lambs. Let's face it, if I'm raising them to sell. If I'm selling and if I have high percentages, that to me is important, and it's going to be a sales point for me. If people are saying, I got my papers, it's only got 3 sheep on it. Well, yeah, but you know what? This ewe's 90%, and I bred her to a ram that's 75%. So so that offspring is going to be like 80-some% or 70, 80% or something like that, where the offspring you got over there is like 9%. So you want to pay for 80% or you want to pay for 9%? I think that's a selling point. That's what I think. Doesn't mean everybody else thinks that way. I think it's that way, so I think the percentages are important. Now, one more thing real quick, because that's about all there really is to this, is should I register my sheep, all right? And let's say you're buying them for the same place where Stu and Skeeter came from, and everything is going to go to hunting operations. You've got 3 or 4 hunting operations lined up. They're going to buy all your rams. They don't care if they're registered. They don't care anything about them. They like great genetics, and you got these good genetics. You're going to get good horns, and you want big genetics because you want those horns to grow as fast as possible so you can sell those rams at a younger age. A lot nicer if you can sell that ram when he's 2 or 3 years old instead of having to wait till he's 4 or 5 years old. So you got the good genetics. They don't care. And you figure, why would I bother to register? They don't care. Here's why you bother to register. Because 50% of the sheep you're going to have, the lambs you're going to have, are going to be ewes. And if you're going to be selling the ewes, you're going to get a lot more money out of a registered ewe than a non-registered ewe. You can say, hey, look at those great genetics, that's great, but she's not registered. And even if today you could take that ewe lamb, sell it, and as a new owner, I'm the new owner, I can say, well, I want to register it. So I'm going to take pictures of it and I'm going to send it in, and I will get a set of papers for that more than likely. But it starts with her. She's the first one. So when I breed her to a registered ram, all she's getting is from that one. If he's the first one on his papers, guess what? She's 6%. That's all she is, because it's her and her sire. That's it. But by the ram she's by, she's going to get nothing out of the ewe she's out of. So, but if I have papers on that ewe, if it would have bought that ewe with papers, and she had 3 generations of papers behind her, I get a lot higher percentages. I get a lot better look, and I get to know for sure exactly where she comes. I can tell you Stu is a nice ram. I like Stu, and that's why he's in this breeding pen. I like him, he's a nice ram. He's got nothing on the bottom. Not a thing to show genetics on the bottom, but he's out of a Stumberg Gold Rush Cross. I know those names, I know the genetics that go with them, so I know I got good genetics there, but it's not going to show up in his papers. But if I can put him with ewes with really good papers, then I'll be okay in that, I'll work it out. But if you have your rams, you have papers with them, and you can't decide, oh, I don't need to register them, just remember, half of what you're going to get are going to be ewes. Those half are going to be a whole lot easier to sell, and they're going to be worth a lot more money if you got a set of registration papers that go with them. That's why I think it's worth the effort to register. Again, my opinion doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people. All right, that's all we got for that. The weather is sticking. Now, it's supposed to start getting a little cooler. I love this short sleeve shirt weather. I don't think it's going to last too much longer here, but I've got a project over here that we're going to do probably in the next week or so, and that'll be a kind of a get ready for winter project yet. Got one more, at least I can get in before the weather changes. Hey, thanks for sticking with me. I'll see you in about another week or so.